Megan, what initially drew you to the posing naked on the page class?
I knew I had a story to tell, a personal story, and I didn't have a space to write it. I spend a lot of time writing for my business, which is great and it is personal in a way, but it's not that personal. It's not like writing your greatest traumas kind of personal. And I had wanted to write this story for a while, but every time I sat down to do it by myself, it wasn't coming. Like it wasn't flowing. And I think I needed a container. I needed a community. I needed some structure in order to do it in a safe way. So when I heard about posing naked on the page, I was like, I think that's exactly what I need to get myself writing in this new style.
Oh. And then how was your experience in the class?
I loved the class. I thought it was the perfect blend of didactic and experiential, right? Like we did a little bit of learning every class session, but then we also did a lot of sharing, a lot of workshopping. I loved having guest authors come into the space to share about their experiences writing memoir, writing personal essay. It felt to me like the class really supported me as a human and a writer from every angle so that I could actually tell the big story that I wanted to tell. I think the biggest breakthrough moment for me was actually sharing the work. Like getting the lessons about the structure of writing personal essay and all of these great tips for how to really bring your essay to life. I felt like I was just collecting ingredients and putting them in the cauldron and stirring it all up, taking all of these aspects of writing, and then you as the facilitator were putting them through this personal essay filter that was like synthesizing in my mind. And all of those pieces were integrating and coming together as I was writing my piece, as I was writing my essay. And I think the real breakthrough moment for me in the class was having the opportunity and having the deadline. Let's start there. I think, first of all, I had a deadline, like your piece is due on this day. And because we're writing in the class about these really personal, emotional topics, it's very easy to just procrastinate and avoid, kind of not get around to it, because it does require going through some emotional depth to write this piece. So having the deadline was in itself a kind of breakthrough for me, because I was like, oh, I need a deadline. Like if I'm going to do this type of writing, I've got to be on a deadline in order to get it done. That was a huge learning lesson for me. And then the biggest breakthrough was obviously sharing the piece with the class and then having the experience of being workshopped, receiving the feedback. It was great for me as a writer, but it was like 2 years of therapy condensed into a 30-minute workshop session.
And how has your writing changed since taking the class?
It's made me a braver writer. I came into the class already in the process of sharing personal stories in my work. But they weren't like this. I was like on the bravery scale of 1 to 10, I was writing at like a 4 or 5. And now I'm writing at a 10. Now I'm at the point where I trust myself to tell the big stories in really respectful ways. I think that was a huge lesson from the class, was really learning how to tell real, true stories in a conscious, ethical way, right? How are we respectful to the other characters in the story who are real people in your life, often like family members or, people you've known since childhood. So I think that because I now feel like I have my own personal code of ethics around what my rules are for writing my stories and for writing about other people, it makes it that much easier for me to be really brave and courageous in my personal storytelling.
Okay, love that. And what would you say sets apart a class taught by Paulette?
I would say I have taken lots of writing classes here and there. And what I love about taking classes with Paulette is that she shows up as her full self. So, it's not like you log into Zoom for class and you meet your teacher. right? And we've all had that experience of being in a class where there's a teacher and they're there to impart wisdom and knowledge to you, but they're also protected by this like power differential bubble. Like they're up here on the pulpit, like they're the teacher, they're going to teach you the lessons, but they don't actually have to like step down and join the congregation. And I feel like Paulette really joined the congregation. She was sharing her own work with us throughout the class to read. She was talking about the process of writing the work. And I think her humility and her humanity in the class made it that much easier for me and for the other students in the class to get really honest and vulnerable in our own stories.
Thank you so much. So sweet. And what do you feel like was a transformation for you as far as investing in a class for yourself?
I don't know if I ever would have written this story if I wouldn't have paid to be in this class. Sometimes I need to put my money where my heart is in order to get something done. I need a deadline and I need an investment, or else I won't do it. And this story for me was such a personal story that I needed to be invested in multiple ways in order to get myself to sit down and actually do the work. I proved to myself that I could do it, and I now know how to do it. And I only know that because I was willing to invest the time, the money, the resources in myself to make it happen.
Love that. Thank you so much. So great. Really appreciate you.
Yeah.
And yeah, like
great question.
That essay like almost didn't exist. It's like, no,
I know.
gotta exist.
I know. It's crazy.